The crowd in front of the Vought pop-up stage looked like a sea of glowing screens. Huey would have hated it. But Huey was not here. A young woman with pink hair stood on a planter, holding her phone up high. She wasn't even watching the stage with her eyes. She watched it through her screen, because that's what you did now. If it wasn't filmed, it didn't count. Behind the stage, in a narrow service alley, a security guard leaned on the wall and checked his own phone. He smiled at a meme. He did not see the air behind him start to bend. It was not a flash. It was not lightning. It looked like a tear in clear plastic. A thin line became a jagged slit. The light around it warped and shook. Then something dropped out. It hit the pavement with a wet slap, like a bag of laundry. Pale arms pulled in. Long fingers clutched the sides of its head. It folded itself into a tight ball. Its back rose and fell fast. A small sound came from it. Crying. The guard took a half step back. His hand went to his radio, but he didn't press it yet. His brain searched for the right label. Stunt? Drunk fan? Weird soup? The creature did not stand. It stayed curled, hiding its face like it was ashamed of it. A crew guy rushed into the alley, holding a box of cables. He froze when he saw it. His first thought was not danger. His first thought was, this is going to go viral. Yo, he called. Hey, you okay? The creature twitched. The crew guy lifted his phone, camera already open. He walked closer, because the best clips were always close. Are you with the show? He asked. This some kind of... The creature's hand slipped for a second, not on purpose. Not like a threat, like a mistake. A sliver of its face showed. It was wrong in a simple way. Pale skin stretched tight. Eyes that looked too big, too empty. A mouth that was small and flat, like it forgot how to be a mouth. The crew guy saw it on his screen. For one heartbeat, nothing happened. Then the crying stopped. The creature went stiff. Its shoulders rose. Its hands clawed at its own head like it wanted to rip its skin off. A sound came from deep inside it. It started low, then surged up. A scream. It was not an angry shout. It was not a roar. It was a long, tearing sound that made the guard's stomach turn cold. The crew guy laughed once, nervous. Okay. Great bit, man. Great! The creature exploded forward. It moved too fast for the guard's eyes to follow. One blink, and it was on the crew guy. The phone flew out of his hand and clattered across the pavement. The scream kept going. The guard stumbled backward and finally hit his radio. Backstage, we got... His voice cracked. We got a guy attacking crew. He did not say monster, because his brain still didn't want to admit that word. The creature finished in seconds. The crew guy stopped moving. The guard stared, shaking, and his eyes dropped to the phone on the ground. The camera was still recording. The screen showed the pale face again in a close-up, frozen for a frame before the phone hit the floor. The guard saw it, just for a second. The creature's head snapped toward him. The guard's lungs went empty. He tried to run, but his legs felt heavy, like he was in a bad dream. The creature launched after him. The guard burst out of the alley into the crowd. People turned. People screamed. And people did what they always did. They raised their phones. Is this part of it? Yo, that's insane. Look at the makeup. Is that a new soup? The guard ran straight toward the stage. The creature followed like a missile, screaming without pause. A woman filming got a clear shot of its face as it chased. She saw it. She gasped. Oh my God. The creature's head snapped toward her for a split second, like it marked her. But it kept going after the guard first, like it had a list in its head. Now there were 2 names on that list. More phones filmed. More screens caught the face. More people became targets, and they did not even know it yet. On stage, a smiling Vought host paused mid-joke. He looked into the crowd, and saw panic rolling toward him like a wave. Security rushed in. A low-tier soup. One of the strong guys in a tight suit jumped down and squared up. "Back off," the soup yelled, trying to sound brave. The creature slammed into him and threw him aside like he was made of foam. The soup hit a display stand and didn't get back up right away. The crowd screamed louder. A siren began to wail. Up above, on a nearby rooftop, a shadow landed with a soft thud. A cape settled. Boots stepped to the ledge. Homelander watched the chaos below with a hard, annoyed stare. His event, his city, his cameras. And now something was stealing the show. He listened. The screaming was sharp enough to cut through the noise. He narrowed his eyes. "What the hell is that?" he muttered. He dropped from the roof like a falling star and hit the street with a crack in the pavement. People cheered anyway, because cheering was a reflex. Then they saw his face. They saw he was not smiling. They stopped. Homelander looked toward the running guard and the pale creature behind him. He took one step forward. And in that moment, on hundreds of phones at once, the pale face filled screens, clearer than ever. Because now the cameras had found the perfect angle, and the world's biggest celebrity had just walked into the shot. Huey Campbell watched the clip 3 times before his hand started to shake. He wasn't even sure why he watched it again. Maybe because his brain kept insisting it had to be fake. Maybe because, deep down, he wanted it to be fake. It wasn't. It was a shaky phone video from a Vought Street event. People screaming. A blur of white. A man's crying turning into a scream that made Huey's teeth hurt. Then the face. Huey's breath hitched. He jerked his eyes away, but it was already too late. He had seen it. Just for a flicker. He stared at the paused screen like it might bite him. He said softly. "Guys?" Butcher was across the room, leaning over a table with papers and a half-broken laptop. MM was cleaning a gun, slow and careful. Frenchie was messing with a small drone, humming under his breath. Kimiko sat on the floor, legs crossed, watching everyone like she was listening to a song only she could hear. Butcher didn't look up. "If this is about your bloody search history, I don't want to know." It's not that." Huey swallowed. "It's on every feed. Vought event. Something showed up. It's killing people." MM looked over. "Like a soup?" "No." Huey's voice went tight. "Not like a soup." Frenchie rolled his chair over fast. "Let me see. Mon coeur." Huey turned the laptop a little, but he kept his eyes half closed, like that would help. Frenchie leaned in, then froze. "No, no, no, no." He slapped a hand over the screen. "Do not look!" MM blinked. "What?" Frenchie breathed fast. "A face, a trigger. It is like a cursed photograph." Butcher finally looked up. His eyes flicked to the screen for half a second. Frenchie shoved his hand harder on it. "No! You idiot!" Butcher's jaw tightened. Too late. Huey felt sick. "What do you mean, trigger?" Frenchie grabbed a marker and a scrap of cardboard and started drawing boxes, fast and messy. He drew an eye. He drew a screen. He drew a stick figure running. "Look," Frenchie said, voice sharp. "We make rules. Simple rules. If the face is seen, the creature goes mad. It hunts. It doesn't stop." MM's hands went still on the gun. "How do you know that?" Frenchie's eyes darted. "I don't know. I feel it from the pattern. The way it moves. The way it chooses. It is not random." Kimiko tilted her head. Her eyes narrowed at the covered screen. Huey swallowed again. It screamed. Then it went straight for one guy. Then it turned, like it noticed another person. Butcher stepped closer, staring at the covered laptop like he wanted to punch it. "So if you see it, you're marked," MM finished, low. Huey's stomach dropped. So I'm marked. Frenchie looked at him, and for once, Frenchie didn't have a joke. Maybe. Huey's face went pale. Maybe. That's not helpful, Frenchie. Butcher's voice went flat. Listen to me, Huey. If you're on its list, we don't run in a straight line. We don't panic, he pointed at the covered screen. First thing is we stop more people seeing that ugly mug. Stood up. We need to know how far this goes. Citywide? Countrywide? If it's on the internet, it's global. Frenchie nodded hard. Yes. That is the nightmare. Cameras are everywhere. People love to look. Huey thought of all the screens in the world. Phones, TVs, billboards, ads, news. He felt dizzy. How do we stop that? Butcher gave a humorless smile. We don't, mate. Not fully. Then his face hardened. We slow it down. We smash what we can smash. Stared at him. You're talking about breaking phones. I'm talking about breaking everything, Butcher said. Kimiko made a small motion with her hand, like snapping something in half. Her eyes were calm. She understood. Frenchie grabbed a roll of black tape from a drawer and tossed it onto the table. Rule 1, he said. Phone down. Huey looked at the tape. That's the rule? Frenchie pointed at him. For once in our stupid lives, yes. Phone down. Across the city, in Vote Tower, Starlight stood in a hallway full of glass walls and soft lighting. People in suits rushed past her, talking too loud. She could hear the words without trying. Containment. Damage control. Brand safety. Who leaked it? She felt her jaw clench. An assistant shoved a tablet into Ashley Barrett's hands. Ashley's eyes were wide, her hair a little messy like she'd been pulling at it. Ashley looked up and forced a smile when she saw Starlight, like smiling could make this normal. Annie, hey, great timing. Listen, we're gonna need you. I'm not doing PR for this, Starlight said. Ashley's smile cracked. It's not PR, it's public safety. Starlight stared at her. Public safety doesn't come with a sponsor logo. Ashley flinched. Okay. Look, Stan's in a meeting. Homelander's. She lowered her voice. Homelander's pissed. Of course he is, Starlight said. Ashley's eyes flicked around. They want a team on standby. They want you ready to respond. To fight it? Starlight asked. Ashley hesitated, and that was the answer. Starlight took the tablet from Ashley and watched a few seconds of the clip, careful to keep her eyes on the edges, not the center. She didn't want to see the face. She didn't trust any blur. She watched the movement, the speed, the way the thing didn't even pause when it hit someone. A chill ran through her. This wasn't a soup losing control. This was something else. Starlight handed the tablet back. Where's Homelander now? Ashley swallowed. Last report, downtown. He engaged. Cameras everywhere, like always. Starlight's stomach twisted. Cameras are the problem. Ashley blinked. We are literally Vought. Cameras are our business. Starlight stared at her. Then Vought built the perfect world for this thing to kill people. Ashley looked like she might cry. Then her phone buzzed again. She answered, voice sharp and high. Yes, I know. We're working on it. Starlight walked past her toward the elevator. She didn't know what this creature was, but she knew one thing. Vought would try to sell it, and people would die because of that. In a sleek meeting room with a view of the city, Stan Edgar sat at the head of a long table. He did not pace. He did not shout. He looked like a man discussing quarterly reports. Around him were executives, security heads, and one government liaison who looked very tired. A screen on the wall showed a paused frame, zoomed in and blurred. The blurred shape still made people uncomfortable. Edgar's voice was calm. We are dealing with a new asset class. One executive coughed. Sir, it's not an asset. It's a problem, Edgar finished. Problems become products, if you're disciplined. The government liaison leaned forward. It killed civilians in broad daylight. Edgar nodded once. Yes. And you want to monetize it? The liaison asked, disbelief in his tone. Edgar's eyes didn't change. I want to contain it, and I want the world to believe only Vought can contain it. A security chief cleared his throat. Homelander is currently attempting direct engagement. Edgar's mouth tightened slightly. And? The security chief hesitated. It is. Not responding as expected. Edgar tapped a finger once on the table. Define. It doesn't posture, the chief said. It doesn't retreat. It ignores intimidation. It only moves toward specific targets. Edgar looked at the blurred frame. So, it is goal-driven. Yes, sir. Edgar turned to another executive. Begin development of a consumer safety suite. Delay filters, automatic blurring, screen lockdown features. He paused. Also begin black site preparation. We will need a facility that can hold it without staff being exposed. The liaison snapped. You can't just build a black site for this. Edgar's tone stayed even. We can. We will. Because the alternative is mass panic and the collapse of trust. The liaison looked away, like he hated that Edgar might be right. Edgar's eyes moved to the last person in the room, Victoria Newman, sitting quietly with her hands folded. She offered a friendly smile that did not reach her eyes. The public will demand action, she said. If we don't give them a plan, they'll invent worse ones. Edgar nodded. Exactly. Newman's smile sharpened a tiny bit. So let's give them a plan. Edgar leaned back. And while we give them that plan, we acquire the source materials. The room went still. A junior exec asked, You mean the footage? Edgar's voice was soft. I mean the face. That night, the boys drove through the city in a battered van with the lights off. Butcher sat in the passenger seat, staring out at the glow of billboards and giant screens. He looked like he wanted to shoot every one of them. Drove. His hands were steady, his eyes were not. Huey sat in the back, trying not to think about the fact that he might be on a monster's list. Frenchie had duct tape, black cloth, and a bag of cheap safety goggles. He handed goggles out like party favors from hell. Kimiko put hers on without complaint. Glanced in the mirror. Everyone clear on the rules? Frenchie spoke first. No looking at screens. No looking at reflections. If you must check a phone, you cover the center and look at the corners only. Butcher snorted. Or you don't check your phone at all, like a normal person. Huey raised a shaky hand. I have a question. Butcher didn't turn. Make it quick. What if you already saw it? Huey asked. What if you're already marked? The van went quiet. Spoke carefully. Then we keep you moving. We keep you away from other people. Huey's throat tightened. And if it comes? Butcher finally looked back. His eyes were cold, but there was something else in them too. A grim honesty. Then we don't stop it by being brave, Butcher said. We stop it by being smart. Or we die. Frenchie reached over and squeezed Huey's shoulder. We will be smart. Huey tried to believe him. Ahead, a giant screen on the side of a building played a Vought ad. A soup smiled down at the street like a god. Butcher muttered, Not tonight. Slowed the van. Frenchie opened the side door. Kimiko hopped out like a shadow. She moved fast and quiet to the building's power box. A moment later, the screen went black. Butcher smiled, just a little. Phone down, he whispered, like it was a prayer. The city didn't know it yet, but new rules had started. By morning, the new rules were already losing. The clip was everywhere. People posted it with warnings. People posted it with jokes. People posted it slowed down, zoomed in, enhanced. Like that could make it safer. It did the opposite. Somewhere in the city, a man in a tiny apartment watched it on repeat, telling himself it wasn't real. His phone buzzed with a notification. Live now. He clicked, and far away, in the dark of a wrecked street, a pale shape that had been curled in on itself went stiff. Its hands flew to its face. Its body trembled. Then it screamed again. The first mass panic started at Vault Square, because of course it did. A huge digital billboard was set to show a public safety update. That was what the banner said. People gathered because they wanted answers, and because crowds always gathered in that place, like it was built to collect human attention. Starlight stood on a side street, watching from behind a police line. She wore a hat low over her eyes. She hated that she had to hide like this, but she hated worse the idea of seeing that face. She watched the crowd. She watched the screens. She watched Voot staff moving around with earpieces and fake calm. Ashley's voice echoed from the speakers, too loud and too bright. We are asking everyone to remain calm. Vought is working with authorities to... Starlight's hands clenched. This was a trap. Even if Vought didn't mean it to be, it was still a trap. Too many people. Too many cameras. Too many screens. On a nearby rooftop, Homelander hovered, arms crossed, staring down like a king watching ants. His face was tight with anger. He didn't like being told, remain calm. He liked being obeyed. Starlight's phone buzzed in her pocket. She didn't take it out. She didn't dare. She glanced sideways and saw a kid filming everything with a tiny action camera strapped to his chest. She stepped closer. Hey, she said, gentle but firm. Turn that off. The kid looked up, excited. You're Starlight. This is insane. My channel is gonna... Turn it off, Starlight repeated, harder. The kid hesitated, then shrugged like he was being asked to stop breathing. He clicked it off. Starlight exhaled, relieved for half a second. Then the billboard changed. The public safety update vanished. A new video appeared, full screen. It was the face. Unblurred, clean. Starlight felt her blood go cold. She snapped her eyes down fast, but she saw enough. Just a corner of it. Too much skin. Too much wrong. The crowd screamed as one. People fell over each other. Phones flew up by instinct, catching the face again, trapping more eyes. Homelander's head jerked toward the billboard. His eyes narrowed. He stared at it like it offended him. Then, far away, a scream answered. It was not from a speaker. It was real. It was moving. Starlight turned her head, keeping her gaze low. She saw people pointing down the street. She saw a line of cars rock as something hit them. The pale creature came into view like a storm that had learned how to run. It tore between vehicles. It slammed through a bus side panel like it was paper. It didn't slow. It didn't dodge. It just went forward. Its hands clawed at its face, but they were not hiding anymore. Not in this state. Its face was open, and anyone who looked at it was making their own death sentence. Starlight forced herself to look at the ground and the creature's legs instead. She shouted, "Get down! Eyes down! Don't look!" No one listened. Panic made people stupid. The creature lunged into the crowd. It didn't swing wildly. It didn't lash out at everyone. It pushed through people like they were furniture, straight toward one person. A young man near the front, still holding his phone, froze. He didn't even understand why the thing was coming for him. He just knew it was. It reached him. Starlight heard a sickening thud and a short scream that stopped too fast. The creature didn't pause to celebrate. It jerked its head and changed direction instantly. Like a dog catching a scent. Another target. Another viewer. Starlight's stomach twisted. "It's not random," she whispered. "It's hunting." Above her, Homelander moved. He didn't fly down gently. He dropped like a hammer, and landed between the creature and the crowd with a boom that cracked the street. The shock wave knocked people back. Some fell. Some dropped their phones. For a moment, that was good. Less screens, less eyes. Homelander pointed at the creature. His voice cut through the chaos, amplified by pure authority. "Hey!" The creature kept screaming. It didn't look impressed. It didn't look scared. Homelander's smile twitched. "You're done." The creature tried to move around him. Homelander grabbed it. His hand closed on its shoulder like a vice. He could feel bone under skin. He could feel it tense like steel wire. He yanked it back. "No!" The creature bucked with sudden force. The scream spiked. Homelander's boot slid half an inch on the pavement. His eyes widened a fraction, more insult than fear. "You're strong," he said, like it was an accusation. He slammed the creature into the ground. Asphalt shattered. Dust burst up. The creature bounced once and was already moving again, clawing forward, not even looking at Homelander. Just trying to get past. Homelander grabbed it again and lifted it off the ground. "Look at me." The creature's face turned toward him for a second. Starlight's heart jumped. If Homelander saw it clearly. But Homelander didn't blink. He stared right back, heat building behind his eyes, daring the thing to matter. Then the creature twisted, not to fight him, but to point its body toward a different direction. A path through the crowd. Homelander felt it. The pull. Like the creature was tied to a person with an invisible rope. Homelander's grip tightened. "I'm not letting you ruin my city," he growled. He fired heat vision. 2 red lines cut into the creature's chest. The crowd gasped. Phones rose again. Starlight wanted to scream at them to stop filming, but her voice was lost. The heat vision carved and burned. It would have sliced most soups in half. The creature flinched, but it did not stop. It thrashed harder, like pain was just noise. Homelander's face hardened. He fired longer. The creature's skin charred. The smell hit the air. And still, it screamed and fought to move forward. Homelander's lips peeled back. "Fine." He flew straight up, dragging it with him. The creature kicked and twisted mid-air, trying to turn its body toward the street below. Its arms reached down like it could pull itself through the sky. Homelander climbed higher, up into the open air above the towers. Wind roared around them. Then he threw it. He threw it like a fastball. The creature became a pale dot that shot across the sky and vanished behind buildings. Homelander hovered, chest rising. He looked down at the crowd, expecting cheers. He got terrified silence, because everyone had seen the thing's face on the billboard. Everyone had seen it in the street. And now everyone knew it was real. Starlight turned and ran along the edge of the crowd, shouting at anyone who would hear her. "Phones down, screens off, don't replay it." Some people listened. Most didn't. A man near a kiosk was already rewinding the clip on his phone, trying to get a better look. Starlight slapped the phone out of his hand. It skidded across the ground. The man shouted, "What the hell?" "You're going to get killed," Starlight snapped. "Do you understand me?" He stared at her like she was crazy. Then, from far away, the scream returned. It was fainter now, but it was moving closer. Butcher watched Vogt Square from inside a parked van 2 streets away. He didn't need binoculars. The chaos was loud enough to see. MM was beside him, jaw tight. Frenchie sat behind them with a black cloth mask over his eyes, listening to the police scanner. Huey sat on the floor, knees pulled up, trying to breathe like it mattered. Kimiko crouched by the door, ready to move. Butcher's phone buzzed in his pocket. He didn't pull it out. He didn't look at it. He wasn't stupid. He turned to MM. They broadcast it. M nodded. "On purpose." Butcher's eyes narrowed. "Someone wants this." Frenchie spoke, voice muffled by his mask. "The creature is a weapon if you can choose who sees." Huey's voice cracked. "How do you choose who sees? It's on a billboard?" Butcher looked at him. You don't choose the crowd, you choose the target. He pointed out the windshield. You make sure the one you want to die gets a clean look, then you let the monster do the rest. Huey's face went white. That's horrible. Butcher gave a short, humorless laugh. Welcome to America, mate. Leaned forward. Focus. People are going to keep watching. We need to stop the spread. Frenchie lifted a hand. Phone down. Kimiko made a sharp gesture, like smashing glass. Butcher nodded. We go in. We break screens. We break cameras. We don't look at the face. And if it comes near us, he didn't finish. He didn't have to. They moved. Drove the van closer, then parked hard. The group slipped out into the flow of running people. The air smelled like smoke and hot electronics. Sirens screamed. Somewhere, someone shouted into a megaphone, trying to sound in control. Butcher grabbed a crowbar from the van. He walked straight to a corner store that had a TV in the window, playing the emergency broadcast on loop. He didn't look at the center of the screen. He looked at the frame. He swung the crowbar. The glass shattered. The TV died. The shop owner screamed at him. Are you insane? Butcher pointed the crowbar at him. Do you want to live? The owner froze. Moved through the crowd like a wall, grabbing people by the shoulders and turning them away from screens. Eyes down, he shouted. Don't watch it. Don't replay it. Huey ran with him, hands up, voice shaky but loud. Please don't look. Just put your phone away. Some listened because they saw Huey's fear, and it felt real. Others shoved past, desperate to film. Frenchie tossed small black discs onto the pavement. They popped and released thick, dark smoke. It wasn't magic. It was a simple thing. But it helped. The smoke covered screens. It hid faces. It made it harder to record. Kimiko moved into a group of people who were trying to watch a clip together. She didn't speak. She just reached in and snapped the phone in half with one smooth motion. The group went silent. One man raised his fist. Kimiko stared at him. He lowered it slowly. Okay, he whispered. Okay. No phone. Phone down. Across the street, Starlight stood on the hood of a car, scanning the crowd with careful eyes. She didn't look at anyone's screen. She looked at hands. She looked at where people were facing. When she saw Butcher and moving like they owned the place, her stomach sank. Of course they were here. She jumped down and pushed through. Butcher! She yelled. Butcher glanced at her, then looked away like she was a fly. Lovely day for a riot, isn't it? Starlight grabbed his arm. This isn't your game. People are dying. Butcher yanked free. That's Vogt's fault, not mine. Starlight's voice went sharp. You're making it worse by smashing things. I'm making it quieter, Butcher snapped, pointing at a broken screen. Less eyes, less deaths. Starlight hesitated because she hated that he was right. A new wave of screams rose from down the street. People pointed. Starlight's heart pounded. She couldn't help it. She looked, not at the face, at the movement. The creature was back. Homelander's throw had not ended it. It came running from blocks away, tearing through obstacles like they were nothing. It moved with one purpose. It wasn't chasing Homelander. It was chasing someone else. Someone who had seen its face. Huey felt it before he saw it. The scream made his skin prickle. He turned, and his chest went tight. He saw the creature's white body rushing toward the crowd, and his mind whispered, "It's coming for you." He didn't know if that was true, but he couldn't stop thinking it. Grabbed Huey's arm. "Move!" Huey stumbled. "I can't." "You can," said, hard. "You're not dying today." Frenchie shouted from behind his mask. "No looking! Stay low!" Butcher stepped forward, crowbar in hand. Like he could threaten a hurricane. Oi! Ugly! The creature didn't even glance at him. It slammed through a parked car, lifting it on its side as it went. Butcher's eyes narrowed. Right. That's helpful. Homelander streaked down from above again, furious now, because his throw had been ignored. He hit the street beside the creature and grabbed it around the waist, trying to hold it like a wild animal. The creature fought him with savage strength, scratching and kicking, screaming non-stop. It tried to twist toward a man in the crowd who was frozen in place, staring at his phone like it had glued his eyes open. Butcher saw the man. He saw the phone. He saw the face on the screen. He ran and swung the crowbar. The phone shattered. The man blinked like he woke up. What? Run! Butcher roared. The man ran. The creature's head snapped in his direction anyway, like the connection didn't vanish just because the phone broke. The target had already seen. The list didn't update. It tried to lunge. Homelander held it back, muscles flexing, teeth clenched. For the first time, Huey saw Homelander look strained. Not weak, not helpless. Just challenged. Homelander snarled. "Stop! Moving!" The creature screamed louder. Starlight raised her hands and fired a short burst of light upward, not at the creature's face, but at the street, to blind the crowd away from their screens. The flash made people flinch and turn their heads. "Eyes down!" she shouted. "Don't look!" Some obeyed. Some didn't. A kid near a fallen phone leaned down, trying to pick it up. Kimiko grabbed him by the hood and yanked him back. She pointed at her own eyes, then pointed down at the pavement. The kid nodded fast, terrified. Frenchie threw more smoke. The street turned into a dark tunnel of panic and muffled shouting, but the scream cut through everything. The creature twisted hard enough that Homelander's grip slipped. It tore free. It sprinted straight into the smoke, straight toward its target like it could smell him. Huey's breath stopped. He couldn't see the target now. He couldn't see the creature either. He only heard the scream moving. Butcher grabbed Huey and shoved him behind a concrete barrier. "Stay. Down." Huey's voice shook. "But what if it's coming for me?" Butcher's face was grim. "Then we keep you out of sight. And we pray you didn't get a proper look." Huey stared at him. "That's your plan? Pray?" Butcher's eyes flashed. "No, mate. My plan is to break every screen in this bloody city before the whole world gets a good look. Prayer is just the extra." A thud echoed in the smoke, then a short, sharp cry, then silence from one person, and the scream continued, turning away. The creature had found its target. It had finished. Starlight felt sick. She hated herself for being relieved it wasn't a dozen people at once. The smoke thinned. The pale creature stumbled into view again. Its shoulders shook. The rage drained like water leaving a tub. Its hands rose to cover its face. It curled inward, crying softly now, like it remembered shame. Homelander landed a few steps away, chest heaving, eyes burning with rage and confusion. He looked at it like it had broken a rule he didn't even know existed. For once, he didn't know what to do. Butcher stared at the creature, breathing hard. Looked at the crowd, already counting how many phones were still up. Frenchie lowered his mask slightly, careful not to look at the face. "It resets," he whispered. "When it is done." Huey watched from behind the barrier, shaking. He felt like the world had tilted and stayed tilted, because he understood the truth now. This thing didn't need a plan. This thing didn't need an army. It only needed one clear image. And in this world, clear images were everywhere. Somewhere above them, a news drone hovered, camera pointed down, trying to get the perfect shot. Butcher saw it and pointed. "Kimiko!" Kimiko sprinted, leaped, and tore the drone out of the air like ripping a bird from the sky. It crashed and died. Phone down. Homelander's eyes tracked the destroyed drone, and his lip curled. He didn't like anyone breaking cameras but him. Starlight met Butcher's gaze for a second. No smiles, no jokes, just the same thought in both of their heads. If the world kept watching, the world would keep dying. And someone out there had just proven they were willing to show the face on purpose. The real fight wasn't only against the monster, it was against the people who wanted to use it. The next morning, the city looked the same from far away. Same glass towers, same traffic, same giant screens. Up close, it felt different. At Vote Square, workers scrubbed blood off the sidewalk with hoses. Police tape flapped in the cold wind. A few crushed phones lay in the gutter like dead bugs. Starlight stood behind a barrier, wearing a plain jacket and a baseball cap pulled low. She kept her eyes on the ground as she walked. Not because she was scared of the people, because she was scared of what they might show her. A volunteer handed out paper flyers that said, in big letters, "Don't look, don't replay." Phone down, Starlight almost laughed, but it didn't come out right. It sounded more like a sigh. A TV crew arrived and tried to set up a live shot. A producer pointed toward the square and said, "We need the mood. We need fear." Starlight walked right up to the camera and put her hand over the lens. The cameraman jerked back. "Hey, what are you?" Starlight looked him straight in the eyes. "Turn it off." The producer stepped forward, annoyed. "Ma'am, we're with VNN. This is—" "I don't care," Starlight said. Her voice stayed calm, but it had steel in it. "If you show that face again, people will die. You want a story?" "The story is you put the camera down." The producer tried to argue, but a cop nearby made a tired motion like, "Please don't." The cameraman lowered the camera a little. Starlight stepped away and kept walking. Her phone buzzed inside her pocket. She didn't pull it out. She didn't even want to feel it against her leg. She hated that she needed it. She hated that the world needed it. A familiar voice called her name. "Annie!" Ashley Barrett hurried toward her with 2 bodyguards and 3 assistants, all wearing matching Vought safety response jackets. Ashley's makeup was perfect, but her eyes looked like she hadn't slept. "Good," Ashley said, too fast. "You're here. Great. Okay, we have a plan. We're rolling out new safety messaging. We're partnering with—" "Stop," Starlight said. Ashley blinked. "Stop what?" "Stop talking like this is a product launch," Starlight said. "This isn't a new energy drink. This is a thing that kills people for looking at it." Ashley's smile twitched. "I know that. I do. But the public needs guidance, and Vought is the only— "The public needs the truth," Starlight cut in. "The truth is Vought made this worse." Ashley flinched, like Starlight had slapped her. "We didn't make it show up." "You put cameras on everything," Starlight said. "You made a world where nobody can stop filming." Ashley's mouth opened, closed. She glanced at her assistants, then leaned in and lowered her voice. "Stan is in meetings with the government all day. They're writing emergency bills. Newman is already on TV saying we need strong oversight." Starlight's stomach tightened at that name. "And Homelander?" Ashley swallowed. "He's furious." "Because he couldn't stop it," Starlight said. Ashley nodded, eyes wide. "He threw it, and it came back, like it didn't care." Starlight looked past Ashley, at the square, at the people who kept trying to sneak looks at their own phones. Even now, even after everything, some guy in a hoodie stood with his back to a wall, watching a clip with the sound off. His thumb hovered over replay like it was a button on a game. Starlight walked over and snatched the phone out of his hand. The guy jumped. "Hey!" Starlight held it up, screen facing away from her. "You want to die today?" His face went pale. I blurred it." "Blur isn't magic," Starlight said. "Go home." She tossed the phone back. He caught it with shaking hands and shoved it into his pocket like it was burning. Ashley watched, then whispered, "That's not scalable. Annie, you can't just police every phone." Starlight met her eyes. "Then stop trying to sell safety like a brand." Ashley's voice cracked. "I'm trying to keep my head on my shoulders." Starlight didn't answer because she understood that too well. She turned to leave. Ashley grabbed her arm. "Annie, please, if you're going to do something, tell me. Don't surprise me." Starlight pulled her arm free. "Then tell Stan this. If Vought tries to capture it for profit, I will burn everything down." Ashley stared at her, stunned. Starlight walked away before she could take it back. Across town, in a small, dim safe house, the boys had turned paranoia into a routine. had taped a paper sign above the door that said, "Phone down." He had also taped a second sign under it that said, "Yes, really." Butcher complained about the signs, which meant he secretly liked them. He complained about everything. Frenchie had gone further. He took black electrical tape and covered every tiny camera on every device, laptops, TVs, even the smart speaker that nobody used. He taped over the peephole in the front door. Huey watched him do it and asked, "What about the smoke detector?" Frenchie stared at him. "You think the smoke detector will show us a face?" Huey shrugged. "I don't know. It's 2026. Everything has a camera." Kimiko walked by, looked at the smoke detector, and smacked it once with her palm. It fell off the ceiling and hit the floor. Frenchie nodded. "Now it has no camera." Pointed at Huey. "No doom scrolling, no news clips, no just one frame." Huey's hands lifted in surrender. I get it. Phone down." But he still felt the itch. The need to know if someone had posted his name. The need to know if the creature was coming. Because he kept seeing that face in his head when he tried to sleep. He didn't tell anyone that part. Butcher sat at the table with a paper map, because paper couldn't kill you. He had marked the city with red circles where attacks had happened. He had marked the squares where giant screens stood. "Look at this," Butcher said, tapping the map. "It's like a bloody disease. Every time a new copy hits the net, you get a new cluster." Crossed his arms. "So the spread is the problem." Frenchie leaned forward. "The face is the bullet. The screen is the gun." Huey swallowed. "And people keep pulling the trigger." Butcher's eyes stayed on the map. "That's why we don't fight the thing. We fight the eyes." Kimiko sat on the floor by the wall. She was quiet, but her gaze was sharp. When Butcher said, "the thing," she frowned, like she didn't like calling it that, like she didn't like turning a living creature into a tool. Noticed. "You thinking about it again?" Kimiko made a small motion with her hands, a curl, a shake. Then she pointed to her own chest, then to the ground. Huey understood, even without words. "It cries," he said softly, "when it's not doing that." Frenchie nodded, eyes sad. "It is like pain that walks." Butcher scoffed. "Don't start feeling sorry for it. It ripped a man in half yesterday." Huey flinched at the words. M's voice went hard. "Don't talk like that." Butcher's eyes flicked up. "What? Like it's a puppy? Come on. We're not here to adopt monsters." Frenchie spoke carefully. "We can be afraid of it and still know it is not. Choosing this." Butcher leaned back, irritated. "You know what I'm choosing? Not dying." He stood and paced once, like a caged animal. Then he stopped at the table and lowered his voice, like he was sharing a secret. "There is another choice," he said. Didn't move. "Say it." Butcher's mouth curled. "If seeing the face marks you, then all you need is the right person seeing it." Huey's stomach dropped. "No." Butcher ignored him. "Imagine it. Homelander. Newman. Any soup we can't touch. One clean look, and the monster does what it does best. MM's voice was low and dangerous. That's not a plan. That's murder. Butcher's eyes didn't blink. Yeah, that's the point. Huey stepped forward, shaking. That would kill civilians too. If you spread that face, you're not aiming a gun at one person. You're firing into a crowd. Butcher looked at him like Huey was being naive on purpose. You think Vought won't do it first? Frenchie's jaw tightened. That is why we must stop the face from spreading, not use it. Kimiko rose to her feet, walked up to Butcher, and placed her hand flat on his chest. Not gentle, not violent, just a firm stop. Her eyes told him, "Don't." Butcher stared at her hand for a long beat. Then he looked away. "Fine. Not today. But keep thinking, yeah? Keep thinking about how many people we've lost because we didn't do what needed doing." MM pointed at the door. "We do what's needed. We don't become them." Butcher grabbed his coat. "I'm going for air." MM watched him go, then turned to Huey. "You okay?" Huey tried to smile. It failed. I keep waiting." "For it to come?" MM asked. Huey nodded. Frenchie stepped closer. "Maybe you did not see enough. Maybe the blur saved you." Huey didn't answer, because he didn't believe that, and because hope felt like a trick. At Vought Tower, Homelander stared at a wall of screens with every channel muted. All the talking heads had the same scared face now. They spoke about the incident like it was a storm, like it was a thing that happened to people, not a thing caused by choices. Homelander's fingers dug into the armrest of his chair. He had thrown it. He had burned it. He had held it in his hands. And it had still gotten what it wanted. His phone buzzed. A message from Ashley. "Stan wants you in the boardroom." Homelander didn't answer. He didn't like being summoned. A knock came anyway. The door opened. A security head stepped in carefully, like approaching a bear. "Sir? Mr. Edgar is waiting." Homelander stood so fast the chair rolled backward. "He can wait." But he went, because part of him wanted to make someone else feel small. In the boardroom, Stan Edgar sat at the head of the table, calm as ever. A glass of water sat untouched in front of him. A folder lay open with printed images, covered by thick black bars. Edgar looked up. "Thank you for coming." Homelander leaned forward, hands on the table. "Tell me you have a plan." Edgar's tone was steady. "We are implementing a plan." Homelander's eyes narrowed. "That's not the same thing." Edgar slid the folder slightly, keeping the blacked-out pages faced away. "This entity is triggered by visual exposure. That means our enemy is not only the entity. It is the spread of its image," Homelander scoffed. "So we ban phones? We burn the internet? Good luck." Edgar didn't react. "We do what we can. We reduce spread. We control distribution. We present Vought as the solution." Homelander's lip curled. "You want to sell it?" Edgar met his gaze. "I want to own the response. If we do not, the government will. Newman will. And then we will be reacting instead of leading." Homelander slammed his palm on the table. The wood cracked. "I don't care about Newman. I care that a screaming stick figure made me look weak." Edgar's eyes stayed calm. "This is not about your image." Homelander's eyes flashed red. "Everything is about my image." Edgar leaned back slightly. "Then understand this. Direct force is not solving it. You can throw it again. You can burn it again. The result will be the same as long as exposure continues." Homelander's nostrils flared. "So what? You want me to hide from it?" Edgar's voice went a little colder. "I want you to stop improvising in public. Every time you engage on camera, you give it a stage." Homelander stared at him, stunned by the nerve. Then he smiled, slow and sharp. Careful, Stan. Edgar didn't blink. I'm being careful. Homelander leaned in close. If you ever put me in a room with that thing again, and you tell me I can't kill it, I will kill the people who told me no. Edgar's eyes flicked, just once, to the cracked table. Noted? Homelander turned and walked out, cape swishing like a knife. In the hallway, he passed a TV showing Victoria Newman giving a speech. Newman smiled warmly and said, "We need stronger oversight. We need emergency powers to protect the public." Homelander's smile vanished. He kept walking. Victoria Newman finished her speech with perfect timing. Cameras loved her. She knew how to look sad without looking weak. When the lights went off and the crew started packing up, she stepped into a private side room and closed the door. Her smile dropped. A man in a suit stood in the corner, waiting. Not a Secret Service guy, not a staffer. Someone else. He held a small metal case. Newman raised an eyebrow. "Do you have it?" He nodded. "Clean copy, best we've seen." Newman's eyes narrowed. "How many?" "2," he said. "One for you, one for Mr. Edgar." Newman's mouth curled. "So Vought thinks they can share?" The man hesitated. "It's dangerous. Even looking." Newman lifted a hand. "I'm not looking." She took the metal case like it weighed nothing. "Tell Edgar he can keep his copy, but he should remember something." The man swallowed. "What?" Newman's smile returned, soft and deadly. In a world of cameras, whoever controls what people see controls what they fear. She tapped the case once. And fear is votes. The next incident didn't start in a square. It started in a living room. A man named Marty sat on his couch with a bowl of cereal and a TV remote. He wasn't famous. He wasn't a hero. He worked in a Vought warehouse and complained about his boss like everybody else. The TV played a normal morning show. The hosts looked tired. They kept saying, "Don't replay the footage," while showing blurred clips anyway. Marty shook his head. "Idiots," he muttered. Then the screen flickered. Just once. A single frame. The blur vanished for less than a second, like a glitch. A pale face filled the screen. Marty's spoon stopped halfway to his mouth. His eyes widened. "What the—" The show continued like nothing happened. The hosts kept talking. Marty sat frozen, cereal dripping back into the bowl. His heart thudded. He reached for his phone, shaking, and started to type. "Did your TV just glitch?" He didn't notice the sound at first. A faint cry. Not from the TV. From far away, outside his apartment. The cry became a scream. Marty's skin went cold. He stood up slowly and went to the window. He didn't open it. He didn't need to. The scream was getting closer fast. Down on the street, people looked around, confused. A dog barked and ran. A car alarm started. Marty stumbled backward. "No," he whispered. "No, no, no!" He grabbed his keys. His brain screamed at him to run. He didn't know the rule. He didn't know he had been chosen. All he knew was that something was coming, and it wanted him. Butcher heard about Marty's death 2 hours later. Not from TV, not from a phone. From a police scanner Frenchie had rewired to use only audio. Frenchie sat with one ear pressed to the speaker, eyes closed. "Another attack. Single victim. Fast. In an apartment building, and—" He opened his eyes, grim. It started with a broadcast glitch. MM's shoulders sagged. So someone is doing it on purpose. Huey's hands curled into fists. "They can aim it." Butcher's mouth tightened. "Exactly what I bloody said." MM shot him a look. "Don't." Butcher raised his hands. "I'm not saying we do it. I'm saying someone already is." Starlight arrived at the safe house that afternoon. She came through the door without knocking, like she didn't care if it was a trap. Her eyes were hard. Her face was pale. Stepped forward. "Annie." Starlight looked at Huey, then at Butcher. "They're testing it," she said. "They're making people see it on purpose." Frenchie nodded. "The glitch." Starlight's jaw tightened. It wasn't a glitch. It was a cut, like someone dropped a single frame into the feed. Butcher leaned in. "And who has that kind of control?" Starlight stared at him. "Vought, or someone with access." MM's voice went low. "Do you have proof?" Starlight hesitated. "Not proof I can show you, but I have a name." She reached into her jacket and pulled out a folded paper, not a phone. Paper. Frenchie's eyebrows rose. "Good girl. Paper cannot kill." Starlight ignored the joke and unfolded it on the table. It was a delivery manifest, a transport schedule, dates, times, a route marked in pencil. Huey squinted. "What is that?" Starlight tapped the line at the bottom. "A sealed shipment, heavy security. Blind handling required." Frowned. "Blind handling." Frenchie's voice went tight. "They are moving it." Butcher's eyes gleamed. "Where?" Starlight pointed to the destination code. "A facility outside the city. Nobody at Vought will tell me what it is, but I heard the word black site whispered like a prayer." Kimiko's posture sharpened, like a knife being drawn. Butcher straightened. "So they're not just trying to stop it. They're trying to own it." Starlight nodded once. "And they're collecting clean copies of the face. I saw a tech cry in a hallway because he was told to scrub blur filters from a file." Huey's stomach turned. "Why?" Starlight's eyes were cold. "Because a blurry weapon is unreliable. A clean weapon always fires." Slammed a hand on the table. "We intercept the transport." Butcher's smile was sharp. "We burn the source." Frenchie exhaled slowly. "And we do it without looking." Huey swallowed. "And if it's already too late?" Butcher looked at him. "Then we make it less late." Outside, the city kept glowing. Screens kept playing. People kept filming. And somewhere in a dark warehouse, a metal case waited in the hands of someone who never looked directly at the screen. Night came with rain, the kind that made street lights smear into long lines on the road. The convoy rolled out of the city like a funeral procession. 3 black SUVs, 1 armored truck, and a final vehicle with a dish antenna on top. No flashy logos, no sirens. Just quiet. Expensive control. Inside the middle SUV, a team wore matte black helmets with no visors. Their faces were fully covered. Each helmet had small sensors along the sides, like insect eyes. They didn't need to see. They needed to measure. The armored truck in the center carried a sealed crate bolted to the floor. No windows, no vents, just thick metal and locks. Inside the crate, something cried. It was not loud. It was small, broken, steady, like a person who had been left alone too long. The lead driver kept his eyes on the road. He wanted this job done fast. He wanted the bonus. He wanted to go home and never think about it again. Then his radio crackled. "Control to convoy. Maintain speed. No stops." The driver responded. "Copy." He didn't know they were being followed. Not by a helicopter. Not by a drone. By a battered van with its headlights off, tucked behind a line of trucks like a shadow. Drove. Butcher sat beside him, watching the convoy through rain-streaked glass. Huey was in the back, holding a roll of thick black cloth, like it was a life jacket. Frenchie wore opaque goggles and a headset. He couldn't see a thing. He was listening to a small device that clicked and beeped, giving distance and direction like a game. Starlight sat near the door, eyes narrowed. Kimiko crouched beside her, calm and ready. MM's voice was low. "Remember, no hero moves. We're not saving the day. We're stopping the spread." Butcher grunted. "Phone down." Huey whispered it too, like a nervous habit. "Phone down." Frenchie pointed without looking. "In 1 minute. We forced them to stop. We cut the road." MM nodded and tapped the steering wheel. "On it." Ahead, the road curved past an unfinished construction zone. Concrete barriers formed a narrow lane. There was no easy way around if something blocked the path. Perfect. Butcher opened the glove compartment and pulled out a small device with a simple switch. "What's that?" Huey asked. Butcher smiled without humor. "A little present for the tires." MM sighed. "Please tell me you're not going to blow them into a crowd?" Butcher looked offended. "I'm not an amateur. It's a spike strip launcher." "Mostly." Huey stared. "Mostly?" Starlight leaned forward. "Do it. Now." MM accelerated, then swung the van out into the lane ahead of the convoy, right at the narrowest point. The lead SUV braked hard. Tires squealed on wet asphalt. Butcher hit the switch. A strip of metal spikes snapped out under the van's rear bumper and skidded across the road. The lead SUV rolled onto it. Pop. 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 The SUV lurched. The driver fought the wheel. The vehicle fishtailed and slammed into a barrier with a crunch of metal. The second SUV braked. The armored truck braked. For a moment, everything was stopped. Then the back SUV swung sideways to block the lane behind, like they had practiced. The blind helmet team poured out fast, moving like soldiers, not panicked, not confused, trained. MM muttered, "Of course." Butcher kicked the van door open. Rain hit his face. He didn't care. He stormed forward with a crowbar in one hand and a black tarp in the other. Starlight stepped out and raised her hands. A faint glow came from her skin, ready but controlled. Kimiko slid into the rain like a silent blade. Frenchie stayed in the van, goggles on, listening. 2 left, 1 right, 6 ahead. Careful. Huey climbed out last, heart hammering, holding the cloth like a shield. The blind team didn't shout warnings. They didn't ask questions. They moved to positions around the armored truck first. Protect the crate. That told Starlight everything she needed to know. One of the blind helmets turned toward her, sensor lights blinking. A speaker in the helmet crackled. "Stand down. This is a VOT containment transport." Starlight stepped forward. "Containment doesn't come with a PR budget. What's in the crate?" "Classified." Butcher barked a laugh. "Oh, is it now?" He swung his crowbar and smashed the nearest SUV's side mirror in one hit. Glass exploded onto the road. The blind helmet snapped toward the sound, reflexive. Butcher yelled, "Break your own cameras, you idiots! That's the rule!" A guard lunged at him. Kimiko intercepted. She moved in a blur, caught the guard's arm, twisted, and slammed him onto the wet ground. Not to kill. To stop. Her eyes were flat, focused. Starlight fired a short burst of light at the ground between her and the guards. It wasn't an attack. It was a flash to make them flinch and turn their heads away from any accidental screen. "Eyes down," she shouted. The blind team didn't need that warning, but their support crew did. A normal guard, no helmet, stood near the back vehicle with the antenna dish. He held a tablet in his hands, watching a feed. Starlight saw it and felt ice in her veins. "Butcher!" she yelled. Butcher turned, saw the tablet, and sprinted. Huey sprinted too, panic giving him speed. The guard looked up, startled. "Stop!" He lifted the tablet like it was a weapon, because it was. Butcher slammed the crowbar into it. The screen shattered and died. The guard stumbled back, swearing, and reached for his gun. Huey grabbed his arm. "No!" he shouted, more desperate than brave. The guard shoved Huey away, but Huey clung like a frightened animal. Starlight moved in, grabbed the gun, and crushed it with a tight squeeze of her hand. Metal bent. The guard stared at it like it was a magic trick. "Go home," Starlight said, voice cold. "And don't look at any screens. The guard ran. For a second, the fight paused. Rain hammered the road. The convoy guards regrouped. Then a sound came from inside the armored truck. Not a scream. A soft cry. Huey froze. His eyes flicked to the truck before he could stop himself. Grabbed his collar and yanked his head down. "Don't." Huey's throat tightened. "It's in there." Frenchie's voice crackled over the headset from inside the van. "They are about to open it. I hear the locks." Starlight's eyes widened. "Why would they open it?" Butcher's face went hard. "Because they want to use it." A guard at the back of the truck pulled a lever. A small hatch popped open, just big enough for someone to look in. Starlight shouted, "No!" Too late. The guard leaned in. He saw something pale inside. He saw the face. His body went stiff like a wire had snapped tight. Then, from inside the truck, the crying stopped. A half-second of dead silence, and then the scream exploded outward like a bomb. The guard stumbled back, hands flying to his helmetless face. He didn't even have time to scream back. The truck doors buckled outward from the inside. Metal groaned. Bolts snapped. The crate inside the truck punched forward like a kicked door. The scream grew louder. Butcher backed up fast. "Everyone down." The armored truck's rear doors blew open. A pale, thin shape burst out into the rain, moving so fast it barely looked human. It didn't run like a person. It ran like a force. It locked onto the guard, who had looked into the hatch. The guard turned and ran. The creature followed. It didn't look at the others. It didn't care about the van. It didn't care about Starlight. It didn't care about the blind helmets. It only cared about the one who had seen. Huey's heart slammed against his ribs. He held his cloth up like a blindfold for the world. The creature caught the guard in 3 seconds. Huey looked away before the end. Eyes squeezed shut. The scream did not stop. It pivoted. It snapped toward the antenna vehicle, because someone inside that vehicle had watched the feed before Butcher broke the tablet. Even a quick glance was enough. The creature launched. One of the blind helmet soldiers stepped into its path and tried to tackle it. The creature hit him and sent him flying 10 feet into a barrier. The soldier landed in a heap and didn't get up. Starlight moved, careful, keeping her eyes low. She shouted, "Clear the road! Everyone get down! No screens!" Grabbed Huey and shoved him behind the van. "Stay here." Huey's voice shook. "What if I'm—" "Not now," said. Firm. "Breathe." Butcher sprinted toward the antenna vehicle, crowbar raised. "Open the bloody door!" The driver inside panicked and fumbled with the lock. He couldn't get it open fast enough. The creature hit the vehicle like a wrecking ball. Metal caved in. Glass shattered. The scream turned into something even worse because it echoed inside the crushed frame. Starlight forced herself to look only at the creature's legs, at the movement, at the direction. She saw its hands clawing at the roof, ripping metal like paper to reach the person inside. This wasn't a fight you won. It was a storm you survived. Kimiko grabbed a blind helmet soldier by the arm and dragged him away from the chaos, because even trained men could freeze when the rules changed. Frenchie's voice came through again, tight. "It will reset when the target is dead. Then it hides. It will try to be alone." Starlight understood. "We follow it." Stared at her. "What?" "We follow it before Vote does," Starlight said. "We find where they're taking it. We find the copies. We burn them." Butcher's eyes were locked on the wrecked antenna vehicle. The screaming was starting to change. It was slowing. The creature pulled back, shoulders shaking like rage was draining out of it. Then it curled inward, hands rising to cover its face. The screaming stopped. The rain became loud again. The creature stood still for one breath, trembling. Then it turned and ran. Not toward a target. Away. Away from the road. Away from the lights. away from everything, like it wanted to disappear into a place with no eyes. Pointed. There! Starlight took off after it. Kimiko followed. Butcher hesitated for half a second, looking at the destroyed convoy vehicles, at the scattered guards, at the open truck. Then he saw a hard case lying in the mud near the armored truck. It had popped loose in the chaos, a case like the one Newman had. He picked it up without opening it. He shoved it under his coat. Saw the movement. His eyes narrowed, but he didn't call it out yet. They ran after the pale shape as it vanished into the dark. The creature didn't choose alleys this time. It chose holes. It slammed through a chain-link fence and dropped into a drainage ditch. It clawed up the far side and disappeared into a concrete tunnel where rainwater rushed. Starlight stopped at the edge, breathing hard. The tunnel was dark. The sound of water swallowed everything. Kimiko stood beside her, listening. Butcher arrived a second later, soaked and scowling. Brilliant. It went into the bloody sewers. Came up with Huey close behind. Huey panting like he'd been running from the end of the world. Maybe he had. Frenchie hurried last, goggles still on, hands out in front of him like a blind man. Where? Starlight pointed. Down there. Frenchie tilted his head, listening to the rushing water. Good. No cameras. No screens. Huey tried to laugh. It came out as a shaky breath. Great. We're sewer people now. Butcher looked at him. Better than being dead people. They climbed down. The tunnel stank. The floor was slick. Water rushed past their boots. Starlight kept her eyes forward but low, like she was walking through a minefield. Every shadow could hide a face. Every splash could be the sound of it turning back. They moved deeper, guided by sound, and by the faint trail of broken concrete and scraped walls the creature left behind. It didn't hide its path. It didn't care about being followed. It only cared about being unseen. After 10 minutes, the tunnel widened into an old service corridor. Pipes ran along the ceiling. Rusted doors lined the walls. A red light blinked above one door. Butcher stopped. That's not sewer gear. Moved closer, reading the sign on the wall. Private property. Authorized access only. Starlight's chest tightened. Vought. Frenchie reached out and touched the door. His gloved fingers found a keypad. They built a door in the dark, he whispered, like they expected monsters. Kimiko crouched and put her ear to the metal. A soft sound came from the other side. Not a scream, a cry. Starlight's skin prickled. It's here. Butcher's eyes went sharp. And so are they. A small camera dome sat above the door. Butcher raised his crowbar, then paused, remembering. He didn't want sparks. He didn't want reflections. He pulled out a strip of black tape and slapped it over the lens instead. M's eyebrows rose. Look at you. Learning. Butcher grunted. Shut up. Starlight stepped forward and pressed her hands against the door. Her light flared, not bright enough to blind, just enough to heat the lock mechanism from the inside. Metal clicked. The door unlatching sounded too loud in the quiet corridor. They slipped through. Inside, the air changed. It smelled clean, like filters and money. The hallway was wide and bright, with white walls and overhead lights. Floor tiles gleamed, and cameras sat in the corners. So many cameras. Starlight's stomach dropped. Frenchie whispered, They are insane. Hissed, Tape. Now. They moved fast. Huey tore strips of black cloth and tossed them to Butcher and Kimiko. They slapped cloth over lenses. They pointed the cameras into walls. They broke a few when tape wasn't enough. Phone down. Camera down. Screen down. They reached a control room with a glass window, looking into a larger chamber beyond. Starlight stopped so hard she almost slipped. In the chamber, behind thick glass, sat the creature. It was curled in a corner like a scared child, hands over its face, shoulders shaking as it cried softly. Floodlights shone on it. A speaker in the ceiling played a calm human voice on a loop. Subject, please remain calm. Subject, please remain calm. It didn't help. A scientist stood near the glass with a clipboard. He wore protective gear and a face shield turned fully dark, like a welder. A second person sat in a chair strapped to the floor. A man, helmetless. His head was forced toward a monitor on a stand in front of him. The screen was off for the moment, but cables ran into it like veins. Huey's breath caught. "What is that?" Butcher's voice went cold. "That's a target." MM's fists clenched. "They're going to make him look." Starlight's eyes burned. "No." Frenchie's voice shook with anger. "They will make it kill for them." Kimiko's hands curled into fists, trembling. In the control room, a guard turned and saw them through the doorway. His mouth opened to shout. Kimiko crossed the distance and slammed him into the wall before a sound came out. She held him there until his body went limp. Butcher moved to the console and looked away from the screens, feeling for switches. He used his crowbar to smash the monitors without looking at them. Glass popped. Sparks flew. Starlight pushed into the chamber entry, but a door locked between them and the lab. A red light flashed. A speaker crackled. "Unauthorized access detected. Lockdown engaged." A voice behind the speaker spoke next, calmer, almost cheerful. "Well, this is inconvenient." Starlight froze. She knew that voice. Victoria Newman. Her voice came through the speakers, warm like honey. "Annie, Billy, I was hoping you wouldn't come here." Butcher looked up, eyes wild. "Oh, you've got to be kidding me." Newman continued. "This is public safety. We're learning the rules." MM shouted at the speaker. "By killing people?" There was a small pause. Then Newman said, "People die every day. I'm trying to stop bigger deaths." Starlight's voice shook with fury. "You're trying to control it." "Of course I am," Newman said, like it was obvious. "If we don't control it, someone else will. And they will do it worse." Huey stared at the strapped man in the chamber. His face was wet with tears. He didn't even know what was about to happen. Huey's voice cracked. "Let him go." Newman sighed through the speaker. "I can't. Not now." Butcher leaned close to the speaker, teeth bared. "You sick?" The monitor in front of the strapped man turned on. Just a bright white glow at first. Then the face filled the screen. Huey snapped his eyes away so fast it hurt. Starlight felt her body go cold. She didn't look, but she heard the strapped man scream, and inside the chamber, the creature went still. The crying stopped. For half a second, the world held its breath. Then the scream began. It slammed into the glass, hands clawing, body shaking with rage. The sound made Huey's teeth buzz. The creature threw itself at the barrier again and again, like it could break reality by force. Starlight shouted, "Turn it off! Turn it off!" Newman's voice stayed calm. "You wanted proof. Now you have it." Butcher slammed his crowbar into the locked door. "Open the damn thing!" MM grabbed Butcher's shoulder. "Stop! If you break it wrong, you could expose the face to every camera in here." Butcher froze, breathing hard, because MM was right. Frenchie's hands shook as he felt along the wall for an emergency release. There must be a manual lever. Kimiko looked at the glass, at the creature throwing itself in a frenzy, and her eyes filled with a kind of angry pity. It wasn't evil. It was trapped in a loop, and they were forcing the loop. Inside the chamber, the glass finally cracked, not from the creature breaking it clean. From stress fractures spreading like lightning across the surface, Starlight's heart dropped. It's gonna get out. Newman's voice came again, slightly tighter now. Containment team, execute protocol. Doors on the far side of the chamber opened. A squad in blind helmets rushed in with thick nets and shield panels. They moved as one, practiced, fast. The creature ignored them. It launched toward the strapped man, screaming like the world was ending. The squad threw nets. The nets snapped like thread. One helmet soldier slammed a shield into the creature's chest. The creature hit the shield, shoved it aside, and kept going. The straps on the man's chair held him in place as he screamed and tried to twist away from the screen. He couldn't. Huey's hands covered his ears. He still heard everything. Starlight's eyes burned. "We have to stop it." Butcher's face went hard. "We can't stop it. Not like this." MM looked at Starlight. "We save who we can." Frenchie found the lever. He yanked. A side door hissed open behind the control room, leading into a service tunnel that ran along the chamber wall. Starlight didn't wait. She sprinted through. Kimiko followed. Butcher and MM went next, with Huey stumbling after them, and Frenchie last, counting his steps by feel. In the tunnel, they reached a maintenance panel behind the strapped man's station. Starlight grabbed it and ripped it open. Wires spilled out. She didn't know which one was which, so she did the only safe thing. She fired a burst of light heat into the bundle. The monitor popped and died. The strapped man sobbed, gasping like he'd been drowning, but it was too late. The creature had already seen enough. The mark was set. It slammed into the chair like a truck. Huey squeezed his eyes shut and still flinched at the impact. The man's scream cut off. The creature froze for half a second, then pulled back, shoulders shaking as the rage drained out. It stood there, trembling, wet with rainwater and lab spray, hands rising to cover its face again. It made a small crying sound. Kimiko stepped forward without thinking. MM grabbed her arm. "Kimiko." She gently pulled free, slow and careful. She didn't reach for its face. She didn't try to touch it. She only stood close enough to show she wasn't attacking. The creature didn't move. It cried softly, like it was exhausted. Starlight felt tears sting her eyes. Angry tears, because this was what made it worse. Not the power. The sadness. Newman's voice crackled through the speakers again, sharper now. "Get away from it." Butcher looked up at the ceiling. "Shut your mouth." He turned away and ran down the tunnel toward another room marked Data Storage. MM followed, realizing his goal. "Butcher, no." Butcher slammed through the door. Inside were racks of servers and hard drives in locked cabinets. Backup systems. Cold air blasting. Butcher didn't hesitate. He swung his crowbar into the nearest cabinet, ripping it open. He yanked out drives and smashed them on the floor. MM grabbed him. "We need to know which ones have the image." Butcher's eyes were wild. "Assume all of them." He kept smashing. Frenchie stumbled in behind them, goggles on, hands out. Wait. There were offline cases too. Metal cases. Like evidence. Butcher paused. In the corner of the room sat a small stack of hard cases, each with a white label. He grabbed the top one and felt the label with his thumb. SCP-096. He froze. "What the hell is that?" he muttered. MM's eyes narrowed. "SCP?" Butcher swallowed. For the first time, he looked genuinely unsettled. Someone named it. Starlight rushed in, breathing hard. "We have to go. Newman will bring more teams." Butcher stared at the case in his hand. Then he did something that made MM's stomach drop. He didn't smash it. He shoved it under his coat. MM's voice went low. "Billy!" Butcher met his eyes for 1 second, and it was the same look as earlier at the table. The temptation. The weapon. Then Butcher looked away. "Move!" They ran back into the tunnel. Behind them, Alarms screamed. Lights flashed. The facility's calm voice repeated, "Lockdown engaged." Ahead, the creature had already begun to drift away from the chamber, hand still over its face, like it was trying to crawl back inside itself. It wanted dark. It wanted quiet. It wanted no eyes. Starlight looked at it and made a choice. We don't chase it deeper. Not now. We get out before cameras catch it again. Huey's voice shook. What if it leaves and someone films it? Starlight's jaw tightened. Then we keep doing this, over and over, until the copies are gone. Frenchie whispered, sick with truth. But copies are like rats. If there is one, there are 10. They reached a side exit into the old service corridor again. As they slipped into the darkness, the creature vanished into another tunnel, moving like a scared animal fleeing a cage. It did not look back. It did not care who won or lost. It only cared that nobody saw its face. They climbed out into the rain again, far from the road, far from the convoy wreck. The city's glow sat on the horizon like a bruise. Turned to Butcher as they caught their breath. "Tell me you didn't take that case." Butcher didn't answer right away. That was answer enough. Starlight wiped rain from her face. "We just proved something," she said, voice tight. "They can force a look. They can aim it. They can use it." Frenchie's shoulders slumped. "And we proved something else," he added. "You cannot lock it away if the face still exists." Huey stared at the wet street and felt his chest hollow out. "So what do we do?" Butcher looked out at the city, at all the lights and screens and windows. He spoke softly, like he didn't want the world to hear. "We hunt the picture," he said. MM's eyes narrowed, and the people holding it. Starlight's face hardened, especially the ones smiling on TV while they do it. Far away, in the darkness under the city, the crying continued. Quiet. Unseen. Waiting for the next person to look. The city learned new habits the way a kid learns not to touch a hot stove. Not because someone explained it nicely. Because it hurt. 3 weeks after Vought Square, people walked with their phones turned face down in their palms. Some taped paper over their screens. Some wore cheap sunglasses indoors, which looked stupid until you remembered why. On subway walls, someone had painted the same words over and over in thick black spray paint. Phone down. The joke was that it sounded like a grumpy dad. The scary part was that it worked. Most days, the screaming didn't happen. Then a leak would hit. A clean frame would show up in some dark corner of the internet. A streamer would accidentally flash it for 1 second. Someone would swear it was fake and replay it anyway. And somewhere under the city, something would stop crying and start running. When the scream returned, it returned like weather. Like a storm you couldn't argue with. Started calling it the weather. Not because it made him feel better, because it made him feel focused. When the weather came, you got people inside. You shut windows. You didn't stand on the porch filming lightning. The boys' new routine was ugly and simple. They hunted screens. Huey didn't love the irony. He'd spent half his life online. Now he walked around with a pocket full of black tape like it was medicine. That morning, they hit a small internet cafe that was running a restricted stream room in the back. Frenchie had found it through audio-only chatter, and a paper note slipped under the safe house door. They didn't storm in like action heroes. walked in first, calm, with his hands open. "Morning," he said to the cashier. "Everyone keep your hands where we can see them." The cashier blinked. "This is a business." Butcher stepped in behind with a crowbar on his shoulder like a baseball bat. "Not anymore." Huey felt his stomach twist as he looked at the rows of monitors. A dozen screens, a dozen chances for death. He forced his eyes down and moved by memory. Keyboard edges, chair legs, cable lines, anything but the screens. Frenchie, wearing opaque goggles, said, "Which room?" The cashier scoffed. "What room?" Kimiko walked past the counter, found the back door, and pulled. It was locked. Kimiko didn't change her expression. She simply yanked. The lock snapped and the door swung open. A smell of sweat and energy drinks rolled out. So did laughter. A guy inside looked up, startled, and shoved his hands over the monitor like he could hide it. "Yo, what the hell?" Butcher stepped in and pointed at everyone in the room. "Heads down, hands up. Nobody looks at anything. You understand?" A few laughed nervously, because that's what people did when they thought they were safe. Then they saw Kimiko standing in the doorway like a warning sign. The laughter died. Huey moved fast. He slapped black cloth over each screen, one by one, like he was covering cages. A kid in a hoodie tried to peek under the cloth. MM grabbed his wrist. "Don't." The kid frowned. "It's blurred." MM's voice went flat. "Blur isn't magic." Butcher smashed the main monitor with one clean swing. The sound made everyone flinch. "Why?" one of them shouted. "It's just a video." Butcher leaned in, eyes cold. "Because the video chases you," Frenchie said, softer, almost sad. "Phone down." The room went quiet. They collected hard drives into a bag. They cut the internet line. They left with the cafe owner yelling behind them, and Huey's heart still racing. Outside, rain dripped off the streetlights. Cars passed, like nothing had changed. But everything had changed. In the van, Huey stared at his hands. They shook a little. MM glanced over. "You're doing good." Huey let out a breath. "I feel like I'm breaking the world to save it." Butcher snorted. "World was already broken, mate. We're just sweeping up sharp pieces." Huey looked at him. "Are we?" Butcher didn't answer. He kept his coat on, even though the van heater worked fine. The hard case was still under it. Starlight's world had changed too, just in a cleaner way. Vought Tower was full of new signs. No unfiltered displays. No live feeds in public areas. Violation will result in termination. Ashley carried a stack of printed safety cards everywhere. She handed them out like flyers for a concert nobody wanted to attend. Starlight watched her do it from the hallway and felt tired down to her bones. Ashley noticed her and hurried over, smiling too hard. "Annie." "Okay, we're doing great. Kind of. Not great. But like, less bad." Starlight didn't smile back. "People are still dying." Ashley's smile wobbled. "Fewer people." "That's your bar?" Starlight asked. Ashley lowered her voice. "Look, I'm not your enemy. I'm just surviving." Starlight looked past Ashley at the glass walls and the soft lighting and the employees walking fast, like they were late to pretend everything was fine. "Where's Stan?" she asked. Ashley's eyes flicked away. "Meetings. Always meetings. With the government. With Newman." Starlight's jaw tightened. "Newman." Ashley sighed, like saying the name hurt her teeth. "She's basically living here now. She's pushing for a new law, emergency powers, screen control, delays, mandatory filters." Starlight stared. "You're letting her?" Ashley spread her hands. "She's letting us keep breathing." Starlight didn't like that, because it sounded true in the worst way. Ashley leaned closer. "And there's something else." Starlight's stomach sank. "What?" Ashley swallowed. "Homelander is doing something. A demonstration." Starlight felt heat rise behind her eyes. "Of what?" Ashley spoke quickly, like ripping off a bandage. "He wants to fight it. He wants to win on camera. He thinks it'll fix everything." Starlight's voice went sharp. "On camera? Is he insane?" Ashley laughed once, without humor. "Yes." Starlight stepped forward. "Where?" Ashley hesitated. Starlight's stare didn't blink. Ashley finally whispered. Soundstage 12, underground. They built a safe studio. No windows, no phones, no outside feed. Starlight's throat tightened. And the creature? Ashley's voice dropped to almost nothing. They moved it again. They say they have it in a blind vault under the stage. Starlight heard the words and felt a cold truth settle in her chest. They weren't stopping it. They were staging it. She turned. I need to make a call. Ashley grabbed her arm. Annie, don't! If you get caught… Starlight pulled free. If we don't stop this, 1 million people will get caught the moment he turns the cameras back on. Ashley's eyes glistened. I'm trying to keep you alive. Starlight paused for half a second. Then help me. Ashley flinched, like the word help was dangerous, but she nodded once. Okay, she whispered. Okay, I can delay security scans for 5 minutes. That's it. Starlight didn't thank her with words. She just turned and walked fast. Butcher opened the hard case alone. He did it in the safe house bathroom because it had no windows and the mirror was covered with a towel. He set the case on the floor and stared at it like it might bite. It looked like boring equipment. Foam padding, latches, a label with black letters. SCP-096. He didn't know what SCP meant. He didn't like that it sounded like an organization. A real one. A prepared one. He unlatched the case and lifted the lid. Inside were paper folders and plastic sleeves. Some were stamped with words that made his skin crawl. Secure, contain, protect. He pulled out a folder and flipped it open. Most of the photos were blocked out with thick black tape already placed over them. Someone had known. Someone had been careful. Butcher read the text. SCP-096, Shy Guy. Do not look at its face. If face is viewed, entity will enter rage state and pursue viewer until termination. Entity does not stop. Do not attempt direct engagement without visual hazard precautions. Butcher's mouth tightened. No kidding, he muttered. He kept reading. There were notes about containment cells, about blind handling, about avoiding reflections, about what happened when people got curious. There was one small envelope taped to the back page. Butcher stared at it. He didn't want to open it. That meant he did. Inside was a tiny black USB drive with a red tag tied to it. Do not connect to networked device. Butcher felt his pulse jump. A clean copy. A bullet. He held it between 2 fingers like it was poison. He could almost see Homelander's face when the screaming thing finally found him. He could almost hear the city breathe easier. He could almost hear MM's voice calling him a monster. Butcher's jaw worked. He slipped the drive into his pocket. Just in case, he whispered to the empty room. Then he closed the case and locked it again. When he walked back into the main room, MM looked up and saw his face. MM didn't ask what Butcher had done. He asked, "Are you going to make me stop you?" Butcher stared back. Not today. MM held his gaze for a long beat. Then he nodded once, like he was accepting a temporary lie. Huey watched them from the couch and felt sick because he understood both of them too well. Homelander stood in Soundstage 12 like it was a throne room. The stage wasn't built for movies. It was built for control. No windows, thick concrete walls, a ceiling full of lights that could turn the whole place into noon or midnight with a switch. A ring of cameras sat on rails around the center stage, but each camera had a heavy black shutter cap on the lens, like a blindfold. A big red sign hung above the control booth. No live output without executive authorization. Homelander hated it already. Ashley stood near the control booth, holding a clipboard and looking like she might faint. "We can't go live, okay? We just can't." Stan said. Homelander didn't look at her. He stared at the covered cameras. "Take the caps off." Ashley swallowed. No, we can't. The whole point is… Homelander finally turned. His smile was sharp. "Did I ask what the point is?" Ashley's hands trembled. "If the face gets on camera," Homelander stepped closer, "then I kill it before it matters." Ashley shook her head. "You don't understand." Homelander leaned in so close she could smell him. "I understand that I looked weak." Ashley's voice cracked. "You didn't." Homelander's eyes narrowed. "Liar." A man in a suit entered from the side door. Not Stan Edgar, a security chief. "Sir," the chief said carefully, "the containment unit is ready." Homelander's grin returned. "Good." Ashley whispered, "Please, just do it private." Homelander tilted his head. "Private doesn't fix anything." He looked toward the control booth, where a tech sat with hands hovering over switches. Homelander pointed. "You, put the feed on. Not public. Just recorded." The tech stammered. "Sir, that violates." Homelander's eyes flashed red. The tech nodded fast. Okay. Ashley's face went white. Homelander walked to the center stage where a thick metal hatch sat in the floor like a bank vault door. A team in blind helmets stood around it, hands on heavy restraints and nets. Homelander said, loud enough for everyone to hear, "Open it." The hatch locks clicked. A soft cry drifted up from below. The room went colder. Ashley's lips parted. "Oh my God." Homelander's smile widened. There it is. Starlight and the boys didn't enter through the front. Ashley's 5-minute delay wasn't for a heroic walk-in. It was for a crawl through a service tunnel that smelled like dust and old paint. Frenchie went first, goggles on, counting steps by tapping the wall. Kimiko followed like a shadow. MM came next, one hand on Huey's shoulder to guide him without letting him look at anything he shouldn't. Butcher came last, silent, his pocket heavy. They reached a door marked storage and slipped inside. The soundstage hallway was bright. Too bright. Starlight waited there, breathing hard, hair tucked under a cap. She saw them and felt a tiny spark of relief. Then she heard the cry from below, and that spark went out. "It started," she whispered. MM's voice went low. "We stopped the recording first." Huey pointed at his own eyes. Then at the ceiling corners. "Cameras." Starlight nodded. "Shutters are capped, but there's still an internal record line." Frenchie whispered. "I find the cables." They moved fast. Kimiko climbed the wall like it was nothing and reached the control booth from the side. She didn't smash her way in. She slipped in through a maintenance panel and landed behind the tech like a ghost. The tech jerked, eyes wide. Kimiko raised one finger to her lips. Then she pointed down. Phone down, screen down. The tech nodded fast, hands shaking. Huey crawled under the console, eyes on the floor, feeling for the thick main cable. He found it and held up his hand. MM handed him a cutter. Huey hesitated, because cutting cables felt like cutting a lifeline. Then he remembered the billboard. He cut. The console screens flickered and went black. The tech gasped. "No!" Kimiko gently covered his mouth with her hand, until he stopped. Starlight exhaled. "Good." Butcher didn't celebrate. He stared through the booth window at the stage below. The hatch was open. The blind team stood ready. And Homelander stood like a god, waiting for a monster to kneel. Butcher's mouth curled. This is gonna be a mess. On the stage, the crying stopped. Homelander heard it, and his smile faded. He felt the shift in the air, like the room was being watched by something that didn't care who he was. A pale shape rose from the hatch, thin limbs, hands near its face, shoulders trembling. It stepped onto the stage and froze, as if the bright lights hurt. It did not look at Homelander, didn't look at anyone. It tried to fold into itself. Homelander took one step forward. "Hey!" The creature flinched. Homelander's voice grew louder, hungry. "Look at me," Ashley whispered from the side. "Don't—" Homelander ignored her. He glanced up toward the control booth and saw the dark screens. His eyes narrowed. "What the hell?" He shot upward in a blur and slammed into the booth wall, bending metal with one hand. Starlight's heart stopped. Homelander tore the booth door open like paper. His eyes landed on Starlight. "Annie," he said softly. Starlight's voice went steady, even though her body wanted to shake. "This isn't your fix." Homelander's smile was thin. "You cut my feet." MM stepped forward, shoulders squared. "No one's watching." "That's the point." Homelander looked at MM like he was dirt. "Who are you?" Butcher stepped out of the shadows. Surprise. Homelander's smile vanished. "You." For 1 second, the room held its breath. Then Homelander laughed. "You came to watch me win." Butcher's eyes flicked down toward the stage. "We came to stop you from killing the whole bloody city." Homelander leaned in, voice low and sharp. "I decided what this city sees." He turned his head slightly, like he was listening to the stage below. And then, without warning, Homelander moved. He grabbed Starlight by the collar and yanked her close. "If you're here," he whispered, "it means you know where the clean copies are." Starlight's eyes flared. "Let go!" Homelander's grip tightened. "Tell me." Butcher's hand slid toward his crowbar. MM's voice stayed calm, but dangerous. "Homelander, let her go." Homelander didn't even look at him. "Or what?" Down on the stage, a blind handler made a mistake. He lifted his visor for just a second, wiping sweat from his eyes. His gaze dropped. Right onto the pale face. The handler went stiff. A scream ripped through the stage, so loud it made Huey's stomach flip. Homelander flinched, turning his head toward the sound. Starlight used the moment. She blasted light straight into Homelander's eyes. He snarled and released her, stumbling back with a furious shout. Starlight fell, caught herself, and rolled away. On the stage below, SCP-096 launched. It didn't go toward the blind team. It went toward the handler who had looked. The handler screamed and ran. SCP-096 chased like a bullet that could turn corners. Homelander, blinded and furious, looked down just as the creature slammed through a camera rail and kept going. Homelander's eyes narrowed. He wasn't scared. He was offended. He dropped from the booth like a missile and landed between the creature and the fleeing handler. The creature didn't slow. Homelander grinned. "There you are." He looked right at it. Full face. No blur. No screen. No excuse. For a heartbeat, nothing happened. Then SCP-096's head snapped toward him. The scream changed. It wasn't just rage now. It was focus. Homelander's grin faltered. He felt it in his bones. Not fear, exactly. The feeling of being chosen, being the target. Homelander's smile returned anyway, forced and sharp. "Good." He fired heat vision. The red beams carved into SCP-096's chest. The creature jerked, but it did not fall. It did not slow. It leaped. Homelander caught it midair and slammed it into the stage floor hard enough to crack concrete. He punched. Once, twice. Each hit would have turned a human into paste. SCP-096 kept clawing, screaming, trying to reach his face with its hands like it wanted to tear the idea of Homelander out of the world. Homelander's eyes widened as he realized something he hated. This wasn't a fight for attention. This was a fight to finish. He grabbed SCP-096 by the throat and flew straight up, smashing it through catwalk metal. He slammed it into the ceiling. He dropped it again. SCP-096 hit the ground and sprang up immediately, like gravity was optional. Butcher watched from the side, breath tight. He had seen Homelander dominate rooms with a smile. Now Homelander was working, not losing, not helpless, but working. Grabbed Huey and pulled him back. "Stay off the floor near them." Huey's voice shook. "He can't kill it." Starlight's face was pale. "Not fast enough," Frenchie whispered. "It doesn't stop." The blind team retreated to the edges, because nothing in their training covered two unstoppable things colliding. Homelander punched SCP-096 across the stage. The creature hit a wall and bounced back instantly. Homelander's eyes darted toward the control booth, toward the idea of cameras, toward the idea of the world seeing him struggle. His jaw clenched. He grabbed SCP-096 and flew toward the open hatch in the floor. Starlight's eyes widened. "He's taking it down." Understood at once. "He thinks he can trap it." Butcher's mouth twisted. "Or he thinks he can make it disappear and pretend he won." Homelander shoved SCP-096 into the hatch. The creature clung to the rim with its fingers, screeching, trying to pull itself back up toward him. Homelander roared and kicked its hands loose. SCP-096 dropped into the dark. Homelander slammed the hatch shut and locked it with a heavy lever. For 1 second, the stage was silent except for Homelander's breathing. He straightened, chest heaving, and looked around like he expected applause. Nobody clapped. Ashley stood with her hands over her mouth, shaking. Starlight stared at Homelander, and her anger burned hot enough to hurt. Homelander took a step toward the control booth. "Turn the feeds back on," he snapped. "Now!" Starlight said. "No." Homelander's eyes flashed. "You don't tell me no." Butcher stepped forward. "Listen, you egotistical." The hatch buckled. Everyone froze. A dull boom came from below, like something huge had hit the underside. The hatch buckled again. The lock creaked. Frenchie whispered, voice tight. "It is still in rage. It will break." Homelander stared at the hatch. And for the first time that night, something like doubt crossed his face. He understood the worst part. As long as he lived, it would keep trying. Forever. Starlight looked at "We need to seal it deeper." Nodded once. "The real vault." Ashley whimpered. "The what?" Starlight grabbed Ashley's shoulders. "Where's the blind vault door control?" Ashley's eyes darted. I don't." Butcher leaned in, voice low and mean. "Tell us, or I start breaking things you like." Ashley blinked tears. Okay. Back corridor. Key card. 2 levels down. It's built under the hatch." Looked at Homelander. "You come with us," Homelander snarled. "Why would I do anything you say?" Didn't flinch. "Because it's hunting you. And if it gets out into the city, it's still hunting you. In public, in front of everyone." Homelander's jaw worked. He hated He hated that was right. He walked forward. "Fine," he said, like it was his idea. "I'll finish it properly." They moved fast through the back corridor. Ashley fumbled a keycard. Doors hissed open. Below them, the banging grew louder. The walls vibrated. Huey's ears rang. They reached a heavy hallway with no cameras, no glass, no reflective metal. The floor was rubberized. The lights were dim. A giant door waited at the end, thick as a bank vault, with warning signs in red. Visual hazard containment. No devices, no windows, no reflections. Frenchie whispered. They copied the papers. Butcher's pocket felt heavy. He could feel the USB drive like a heartbeat. Homelander walked ahead, fast now, not because he was scared, but because he wanted control back. He stopped at a second hatch in the floor, this one framed by the vault door. Ashley pointed with a shaking hand. "The hatch opens into the vault chamber. If you lure it in and seal the door," Homelander glared at her. "I don't get lured." The banging from below surged, as if the creature heard his voice. Starlight said, tight, "It doesn't care about your pride." Homelander's eyes snapped to her. "Watch your mouth," Butcher barked. "No, you watch yours. That thing wants you. Use your stupid ego for once." Homelander stared at the hatch. Then he did something nobody expected. He smiled. "All right," he said. "Let's do it." He yanked the hatch open. The scream blasted up like hot air. A pale hand shot out and grabbed the rim. SCP-096 hauled itself upward, faster than any person should move, dragging its body like it was weightless. It didn't look around. It looked at Homelander. It lunged. Homelander flew backward into the vault chamber like a comet, pulling SCP-096 after him. For half a second, it worked. The creature chased him straight into the open space beyond the door. Shouted, "Now!" Starlight slammed her hands onto the control panel and blasted it with a careful burst of light. The mechanism sparked. The vault door began to close. Slow. Too slow. SCP-096 was almost through. Homelander shot back out, fast, trying to avoid being trapped inside with it. He cleared the threshold. SCP-096 hit the door edge, claws digging into thick metal. The scream turned into a grinding shriek. The door shuddered. Starlight screamed, "Close! Close!" And Kimiko pushed on the door like it mattered. It probably didn't, but they pushed anyway. Frenchie, blind, found the manual lever and yanked with all his weight. The door slid another inch, another. SCP-96's fingers bent, but didn't break the way human fingers would. It was like they were made to hold. Homelander hovered on the safe side, panting, eyes wide with fury. Butcher stood near the panel, hand in his pocket. He could pull out the drive. He could run it into a device. He could guarantee this never ended for Homelander. He could guarantee a lot of things. Looked over and met Butcher's eyes, like he could read the thought off his face. Shook his head once. Not a speech, just a choice. Butcher's jaw clenched so hard it hurt. Then he pulled his hand out of his pocket. Empty. He stepped forward and grabbed the manual lever beside Frenchie. Together, they yanked. The vault door slammed shut with a final, brutal clang. SCP-096's scream muffled behind it, but it didn't stop. The metal door shook once, twice, then held. For now. Everyone stood there, breathing hard, listening to the screaming trapped in the dark like a storm sealed in a box. Ashley slid down the wall and sobbed. Huey leaned forward with his hands on his knees, trying not to throw up. Frenchie whispered, "It is still angry. It will stay angry. Because the target lives." Homelander wiped blood from his lip, eyes burning. He stared at the vault door like it was an insult carved into steel. Starlight looked at him. "No cameras," she said. "No broadcast." Homelander's voice was low and deadly. "You trapped me with it." Stepped in. "We trapped it. It was going to chase you forever. Now it chases a door." Homelander's eyes snapped to "I should kill you." Butcher smiled, tired and sharp. "Go on then. But if you smash that door open, guess who it comes for first?" Homelander's chest rose and fell. He hated that logic more than he hated Butcher. He turned on Ashley. "No one hears about this." Ashley nodded fast, tears on her cheeks. Yes, of course." Homelander looked back at Starlight. "And you," he said softly. "This doesn't make us friends." Starlight's voice didn't shake. "We were never friends." Homelander hovered closer, eyes inches from hers. "You think you won tonight?" Starlight swallowed, then said the truth. "No, I think we stopped you from making it worse." Homelander's smile was empty. "Careful." He shot upward and vanished down the corridor, cape snapping behind him like a flag. When he was gone, the room felt lighter and heavier at the same time. Butcher exhaled. "Well, that's one problem boxed." Frenchie's head tilted, listening to the muffled scream. "Boxed is not the same as solved?" Looked at Butcher, And the copies? Butcher didn't answer right away. Starlight watched him, eyes sharp. Butcher finally said, "We smash what we can find. We keep hunting." Huey whispered, "And if someone else has a clean one?" Starlight's gaze drifted upward, as if she could see through the ceiling to the city above. "Then this starts again." She looked at the vault door. "But at least now we know the truth." Huey frowned. "What truth?" Starlight spoke softly, like the words tasted bitter. "In this world, the monster isn't just the creature." She glanced at the dark control booth screens. "It's the people who choose to show it." The muffled scream continued behind steel, and somewhere far above, in clean offices and bright studios, someone still held a case and smiled without looking at the screen. Morning came quiet. That was the strange part. No sirens, no screaming, just the soft hum of the city doing what it always did. At the safe house, MM stood at the door with a paper checklist in his hand. He spoke each item like a prayer. "Cameras covered." Frenchie raised 2 taped thumbs. "Screens face down." Huey turned his phone over on the table and shoved it under a book for extra safety. "Reflections covered." Kimiko pointed at the towel over the mirror and nodded once. MM looked at Butcher. "No surprises." Butcher stared back. "No promises." MM didn't smile. "Good enough." Huey sat at the table with a black marker, making new signs. His handwriting was messy, but the message was clear. "Phone down." He added a second line under it. "Please." Frenchie glanced over, amused. "Ah, yes, the polite apocalypse." Kimiko made a small sound that could have been a laugh. For a moment, it almost felt like normal. Then Starlight arrived, quiet, wearing a hoodie and no makeup. She looked tired in a way the cameras never showed. She leaned on the doorframe and said, "Newman went on TV." Everyone froze. Huey's stomach dropped. "What did she say?" Starlight walked in and sat slowly, like her body was heavier than usual. "She said the crisis is contained. She said we need stronger oversight. She said Vote is partnering with the government to control dangerous images." Butcher snorted. "So she's selling fear." Starlight nodded. "And she's smiling while she does it." MM's voice was low. "Does she have a copy?" Starlight's eyes met his. "I don't know," Huey whispered, "but someone does. Someone always does." Silence hung in the room. Frenchie broke it, trying to keep it light. "On the bright side, the city is learning manners. People say sorry before they smash your phone." Huey let out a weak laugh. "That's not a bright side." Kimiko stood and walked to the window. She lifted the curtain a tiny bit and looked out at the street below. People walked with their screens down. A kid tried to show his friend something on his phone. The friend slapped the phone away and pointed down, serious as a soldier. "Phone down." Kimiko lowered the curtain and looked back at the room. Her face was calm, but her eyes were sad. Starlight followed her gaze. "It's in the vault," she said softly. "Still screaming." Frenchie nodded, voice gentle. "Because it still wants its target. But the target is—" Huey swallowed. "Homelander." Butcher leaned back in his chair, eyes on the ceiling. "He'll live. He always does." MM watched Butcher closely. "And you?" Butcher met his eyes. "Me what?" MM's voice didn't rise. "Are you going to keep that thing in your pocket forever?" Butcher's jaw tightened. Huey's eyes flicked between them, realizing what MM meant. Starlight's gaze sharpened. "Billy!" Butcher didn't deny it. He didn't confess either. He just said, "It's insurance." MM leaned forward. "Insurance burns down houses." Butcher's voice went flat. "So does Homelander." The room went quiet again. Outside, the city kept moving, careful and tired. Starlight stood up, pulling her hood back on. I have to go, she said. I'm going to keep pushing. Keep warning people. Keep breaking Vogt's lies where I can. Huey nodded. Be safe. Starlight paused at the door and looked back once. If anyone sends you a video, Huey finished for her softly. We don't look. Starlight nodded and left. After she was gone, Huey stared at his marker and wrote one more sign. No replays. Butcher stood and walked toward the back room, coat still on. MM watched him go, then said, quiet but firm, this isn't over. Butcher didn't turn around. No. He reached the bathroom door, paused, and looked at the towel over the mirror like it was a symbol. Then he spoke, almost to himself. Funny thing, he said. We built a world of eyes. He opened the door and stepped inside. And now we're scared to look. Deep underground, behind steel and locks and rules, written in fear, something cried in the dark. And far away, in a place where nobody else could see, a small screen glowed for 1 second before a hand slapped it face down.